Hey guys, relatively quick video that I want to put out today, and it's really about awareness in the Second Amendment community. Most of you guys are aware of how big tech and the media stifles our growth, our reach, and anything Second Amendment related. We see it often. I used to average 10 to 15,000 new subscribers a month on YouTube. Now they'll push me down to where there's been months where I've gotten less than 1,000. And I average that consistent growth over long periods of time. So what they do is there's still, in my opinion, the same amount of people who are subscribing. They just unsubscribe that many people from us that we see. It's never gotten so bad where I saw a reduction, like an overall reduction, but there's always been some kind of, you knew something was happening. If you can sit there and all of a sudden I see 5 less people on my subscriber count. My whole point to all of this is this appears to be shifting itself more into the court system now. My friend John Crump, if you don't follow John Crump News, John Crump Live, 2 different channels on YouTube, go check them out. John is also a writer for Ammo Land, a very good writer. John is not like me. We do share the same space as far as YouTube goes and trying to get some of the word out, but John is a legitimate journalist. John is not a guy like me. I've never called myself a journalist. I actually am very specific that I consider myself more of an op-ed kind of guy. I give my angle on particular topics that are newsworthy, but I don't deliver the news. John delivers the news. John has contacts everywhere. He does a really good job of investigative journalism, getting the word out. I've had several of my own stories that I reported on that I got source data from John on. He's a long-term friend in the industry and does really good work, and he's a very legitimate guy. I've never had a problem with John. I think John does excellent work. John is one of the few guys, including Flying Rich, who does a lot of work with John. They do the John Crump Live channel together, where they have covered the CRS, the auto key card story as it's going on. Well, John has here recently been putting out a lot of stories that are related to the court case. Well, apparently the judge is not real fond of that. The judge has a real issue with it. In fact, the judge has just reached out at John and Rich and is trying to cause some trouble with them. I'm going to play you a couple of clips from John's video that he just put out earlier today so he can better explain it, because he's going to do a much better job than me.
A few days ago, Richard Hughes, better known as Flying Rich on YouTube, and I received information about the pre-sentencing report for Christopher Justin Irvin and Matthew Hoover, better known as CRS Firearms, in the auto keycard case. We obtained this information from Mr. Hoover, who was under no obligation not to share it. Nevertheless, the prosecutor in this case, Laura Crawford Taylor, who apparently tunes in for every one of my videos and reads every comment, is trying to use this against Hoover. She cites case law and states that he was not allowed to share it. Nothing could be further from the truth. The case law that she cites says officers of the courts are not allowed to share the information. It does not apply to the defendant himself. Even scarier, Ms. Taylor has asked the court to issue an order preventing Mr. Hughes and I from talking about the case and to destroy any records in our possession. This was filed in secret. Neither Hughes or I were notified of this. This isn't the first time Laura Crawford Taylor has tried to silence me, but this is the most serious.
Again, folks, my whole point in this video, as you can see, this attack on the Second Amendment community has now shifted over more into the court system, a federal court judge, actually. And I think that's scary. I think that this shows that they are really adamant about stopping the message that we have to say out there. And I think them picking on John is really worse than had they done this to me, because I'm not a journalist. This is, while we may both be getting the word out, and while an attack on me would still be a First Amendment attack, this is a very clear-cut attack on the First Amendment by this federal judge towards John, because John is a bona fide journalist. It's not like me pretending to be a journalist. If I said that, again, I don't claim to be a journalist. I'm more of an op-ed kind of guy. But John is a legitimate journalist, and that's no different than any reporter that you see on any of these other networks out there, a judge putting essentially a gag order on them to get them to shut up and quit talking about a particular case. I think there's something wrong with that. I'm happy to see Gun Owners of America step forward to assist John with attorneys or attorney help, rather. And I think that that's huge because obviously that shows me where not only John stands, but Gun Owners of America also, because they are a true constitutional organization. It's not just one amendment. They just happen to be focused on the Second Amendment, obviously. But clearly they are very interested in making sure constitutional rights in general are protected. So kudos to GOA for stepping up to help John out with his legal battles with this particular court. But it just goes to show you, man, that it is a concerted effort to silence those who are constitutionalists and those who seek to get the word out regarding the Second Amendment. And any of these encroachments and infringements that we see on the Second Amendment, they are willing to do anything to quiet that voice out there. And I think it's important that all of you guys know this.
God save the Queen, man.
I'm sorry, I thought this was America.
He's